Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on Leighton's Loft. It is now going to be the first Wednesday of every month for those that didn't know. And for those that did know, thank you for showing up today. We appreciate it. How have you been, Lou?
I've been very well, and as you say, as we were talking right before the show, it's baseball season. So how can things go bad? How can things be bad? Just watch some baseball.
Absolutely. Welcome back to Joe. What's up, Nikayla? What's up, Preston? Cuff Daddy? Chris, appreciate you guys tuning in. And Nikayla, yes, we have a fun show planned today, as well as trading card therapy. We're now pre-recording them, but it will drop this Friday. Last week I was away on vacation, but this week we'll be back.
Nice.
All right, so we're going to talk mainly hobby, but Lou and I were just remarking, man, if you like sports, and of course if you like the hobby, it's even better, just a really good time of year because your baseball season's back, and even if you started off with an offer, you're still not out of it. There's 16 different ways, literally, to make the playoffs these days.
J5 and I were talking before the show, and he's checking the standings. And going, what are you doing? It's April 3rd. You can't be checking the standings at this point.
But I'll tell you what I do check. I check the who's off to a hot start because that may have an impact on our business, meaning the players.
Absolutely, yep.
But I agree, the standings are relevant. Although I'm not going to, I'm happy the Yankees are off to a good start. I am.
Why not? Right? They beat the Astros too.
But if you had to say to me what team I'd like to get off to a good start in all pro sports, it would be the New York Jets. Jesus Christ. Just, no one get hurt. Go like 4-1. Just stay out of the news. That'd be fun.
It was less than a good start last year, but you got to be excited.
That's an understatement, Lou. That's like the biggest understatement I've ever heard.
Team looks so good, right? After all these years, you got to be excited for the season right now and enjoy it while you can.
Absolutely. You never know. But anyway, I hope everyone had a wonderful Easter for those that did celebrate. And of course, for those who are going to celebrate Passover, welcome to almost Passover season.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a great time for sports, that's for sure. And as we kind of dive into, sports, I want to be clear that I haven't seen, not just on the court, but also in the hobby, anything like Wemby in years since 2019. And even though it was a little bit it was because of Zion Williamson.
Yep.
And so I'm not suggesting that you should buy it. It's not what I'm saying. I'm going to move here and we're in the center. But I would just tell you it's very exciting, Lou.
Yeah, it's fun when someone gets a run right in the business.
Absolutely, because really he's a unicorn on the court. Off the court, his stuff is hotter than a pistol. And I know that when I start paying attention, I watch sports, but I don't watch the modern market. But I'm definitely watching the modern Wemby market.
Yep.
And it is on fire, but I want to caution those, like I know Kevin from our community buys a lot of modern basketball. And of course, there are several others as well. Leach, used to buy a lot of modern basketball. I believe some of the folks I just mentioned and others have this type of idea, and I think this is the case. This is the way I would go. It's fun to get all the big hits, but don't put them all on the shelf and start staring at them.
Yeah.
Get them graded. Figure out if there is one or a couple that you'd like to keep and, relish, like you love it. Totally get it.
Yep.
But you don't have to time the market, meaning it's really hot right now. So if you're putting money in and you want to take money out, this is a good way to do that, meaning to make sure you stay current. Like a vintage, Lou, if we buy, for example, like we bought a couple 56 Topps baseball sets, if I grade those cards this month or in 3 months, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Maybe the prices of the grading will change. Maybe the turnaround time will change. I understand that. But nothing's going to really happen besides that. And in modern, what I've seen going on behind the scenes for vintage breaks, but also like with friends of mine who tinker in modern, they're not messing around. In other words, if they go to a show and they busted a little bit, they traded some, and they walked away with, making it up, Lou, a dozen cards, they're not, you know what, maybe I'll grade them next month. No, I give them credit. They're being smart. They're grading them now.
Yep.
You don't have to sell them now. But everyone understands, largely who's in the market, getting them graded allows you to sell them whenever you want.
Gives you a quicker turnaround, a quicker reaction to what's going to be a volatile market, I would imagine.
Definitely. Now, Lou, I know you're not a big basketball guy, but for those that are watching that are, hey, what's up, Nick? What's going on, Danny? Let us know in the chat. Do you think Wemby's the real deal? You think he's a flash in the pan and you should sell him as fast as you get it in? I like Chris's statement here.
Yeah, but see, he termed a long-term investment. What if this is not a long-term investment? What if you're just playing the volatility of the market right now? Make a little bit of profit and flip it over.
And I'd also say, and I think Chris's statement is right, but if it is right, Lou, I can tell you that if you wait those 3 years, you're not going to be getting a very good deal on that player. That player will have 3 years of an established track record. So, in other words, that price that you're paying then is going to be baked into potentially future performance based off of those 3 years prior.
This is good if you can get the player cheap, but at Wemby's prices right now, you can't do that and then wait 3 years because that's a losing game.
Now, listen, I know this is going to sound self-serving, so I want to make it clear this is not only for vintage breaks. I think it's wherever you enjoy your breaks. So if it's with us, thank you. If it's with others, I wish you the best of luck. But I believe right now that the best way to be getting Wemby cards, and I'm not saying to make money, but to do it in a cost-effective way because the products cost a lot. So unless you're, independently financially wealthy and you can just bust cases of this stuff, to me, the best types of breaks to get into right now, or the best way to get Wemby cards, would be to get into not only breaks with whoever your favorite breaker is, but also getting into breaks. Like, I think vintage breaks, it's fun and it's cool for us in our community because we don't sell teams. So for some, Lou, they don't like that because they want the Spurs and they want that super duper high chance to get Wemby rookies. But make no mistake, Lou, when you participate with breakers that do that, the Spurs cost a substantial amount more than the T-Wolves cost, for example.
Because he's in the market, right?
He's in the break and he's in the Spurs for that team. So I'm just saying that if you want to take advantage, and I understand you may not want to buy that Wemby rookie for yourself. If you don't want to buy the Wemby rookie for yourself and you want to kind of take a chance, then I think breaking with companies that don't charge do the breaks by the team is the way to go. But there's no guarantees of how long this market will stay the way that it is. So that's why I started off with, if you're fortunate enough to pull a Wemby rookie that's substantial and you did it on the cheap, to me, I would take the profits. And if there was a different Wemby rookie I wanted, I would just wait till the market settled a little bit.
Because what's the best case scenario? I mean, you're a Celtics fan, and I grew up here in Boston. We watched Jason Tatum, who might be the best player in the NBA right now, or one of the top 3, top 5, certainly. It took years for him to develop into that. And what's he worth right now from a market standpoint in terms of collectibles? What's the best case scenario with this?
So I believe, and I could be wrong, when you look at guys like Wemby, when you look at guys like Ohtani, when you look at guys that are at the top of their sport, like potentially Connor Bedard might be, we're only talking about the best player. So we're not talking about really much else besides that. And of course, there can only be one. But I think it's possible that he becomes the best player because he's the best player in international sport, that there could be a level that will go beyond where the cards sell now.
Yeah.
But Lou, you know a little bit about betting and parlays. When you start adding like an extra team, everyone thinks who don't bet a lot, like a 3-team parlay versus a 4-team parlay, that's not that much harder. But the odds and the statistics show you how much harder it is. So I guess my point is, if you had to say to me, will Wemby be a top 10 player in the next 5 to 10 years? I'd say sure. But if you had to say to me, Leighton, will Wemby be the best player and win multiple rings? Lou, even if I truly believe that, as well as I do, there's so much in sports, especially in a team sport. Like if you said to me tennis, like, all right, the coach and the player. But Wemby's still going to depend on 4 other players, plus his bench players, plus having a good coach, and get a little lucky with the conference that he's in, right?
And James put it here, and I think it's important, especially when we're talking about Jason Tatum, best equals rings. That hype that will drive his market to the next level to make him profitable at the prices we're currently seeing, he's going to need to win some championships, because that's going to put that shine. It's not enough to be the best player in the league or the second best player in the league. You got to have some championship moments. You got to be there, right?
I agree, but for the first year, it is enough
Yeah.
to show the flashes that he has. And actually, it's interesting. I believe, and I'm sure everyone would likely agree, had the Spurs been competitive, do you understand where his cards would be now?
I know,
They
right?
would be 5 to 35% more. So I'm not suggesting that you should buy them, Lou. That's not what I'm saying,
I
Gavin.
get it.
But it's a really I don't break with others. I don't break with vintage breaks. But right now has been about as close as I've ever been between a few other products and the fact that I could chase Wemby right now. Like, I wouldn't mind putting in $100 a couple nights a week. Just chat. Maybe it would only be one night because I'm busier. But whatever the case is, I just know that the prices are very real. The market's robust. It's very healthy right now.
But I'm guessing. Let me ask you this, because this will be an interesting question to ask you. You break tonight, you get a Wemby card. You've sold that card before the end of April, haven't you?
Me?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But to be fair, and I know I'm a conservative gambler, so I happen to be going to Atlantic City on Friday, and I just don't gamble very much. Now, playing poker is a little bit different. If I play poker, that'll be awesome. But the way I would look at, for example, that Wemby, the way you're describing it, Lou, I would simply sell it, and I would earmark a portion of that as fun money so I could buy back into other breaks. So I'm just making it up. Let's just say my budget's $250 to start. And if I lose the $250, just like if I go to AC, I don't know what my budget's going to be, but whatever it is, it's up time. I won't go above.
Yep.
So if my breaking budget's $250 and I somehow hit, I'm making it up, a $4,000 Wemby within that $250, number one, you're right, I will sell it before the end of April. Number two, I'm going to take a portion of, let's just say the net's $4,000 to keep the numbers easy.
Yep.
I'm going to take a portion of that and probably have it be higher than $250 just because I feel like it's fun. So let's just say I double it and I'm now going to allow $500. I'm going to take $500 of that $4,000. I'm going to say I'm willing to lose it.
Yep.
I don't know what will happen. Likely I'll probably lose it. But my point is, what I would do with that money, I would then take of that $3,500, assuming I have no debt, assuming I have no bills. I would then figure out, and this to me is how I built my collection. If you're not going to just go out and buy deals to start a company, and you're just going to buy a card, I would look, and this is what's really fun about the hobby. And to me, this is what the episode should be about. Make sure you're having fun in the hobby. So I would take this net approximately $3,500, and I would make a list of a half dozen cards I could acquire for that money. And then maybe over a glass of wine or talking to a fellow hobby buddy or whatever the case is, whoever your consigliere is in this industry, hobby. I'd say, you know what, Leighton, I'm about $3,000 right now. It's not burning a hole in my pocket, but I'm thinking about these 6 cards.
Yep.
At the very least, if you like the hobby the way that I do, then you're going to be interested in engaging this with the person who's looking to spend the money, because not only you're willing to help them, it's kind of a fun, healthy exercise for yourself.
Yep.
Because I know for me sometimes, I'll talk to Gilmore, and I won't necessarily be in the market for such and such. But all of a sudden, I'm done with the conversation. I'm like, Chris, if there's another one behind the one you want to buy, I'm like, I would buy that for $1,200. He's like, I didn't know you were in the market. I'm like, I wasn't in the market.
It wasn't until 30 seconds ago.
But you happened to bring me into the market. So I wanted to, and I don't even know, Lou, what time you got here? Because I don't have any clocks.
1:51.
Oh, great. So you have a little time. Great.
But my point is, this is not a long-term investment type of deal, and I'm not sure you're buying high right now thinking it's a long-term investment. I don't know if that's a smart play. If you happen to get one in a break, take advantage of the market, but you're not buying high and then packing it away as a long-term investment. Might turn out, but I don't think it's a good bet.
I agree. And I think what I would also do is I would maybe I would take that money and I would say maybe even divide it into 2. And I would say, all right, half of it I'm going to buy vintage cars. The other half I'm buying unopened because I love unopened.
Yep.
But I've also, I do a lot of fun things with my family and my son and, with friends. And they all cost money, Lou. So I think it's okay if you take some of that money and you factor some of it in for a trip. So now let's look at that same money again. 500 is going to be in because you're going to redeploy it into breaking. And breaking doesn't have to be with another breaker. It could just be you buy $500 of Wemby boxes and you break them yourself. So now I have 3,500 left. I'm going to use 1,000 for a trip. Now I know I have 2,500 left. I'm going to budget between 2,000 and 2,500. And this is what we're going to talk on Trading Card Therapy about this week. A really good friend of mine named Patrick reached out to me, and he had a similar, not about Wemby, but he literally said, I got about this and this. I don't say burning a hole in my pocket. I got a budget for a Gretzky rookie. And what do you think? And I don't know. I just took it too far in the sense of I literally came up with the whole process. He's like, Leighton, I was just asking you, man, like, where do you think I could buy a nice PSA 7 Gretzky rookie? But this is my point. If you love the hobby as much as I do, people ask me like why I'm doing Leighton's Loft. Why am I doing Trading Card Therapy? I would like to share knowledge with others that will make the hobby more enjoyable for you. Maybe you'll make a few more dollars. At the very least, you're going to understand more. And I feel like whether it be I'm playing tennis, which I played this morning, or I'm in the hobby, I am always consuming information. Just because I know a lot, I don't shut off like, well, I know a lot. So that means I don't listen to content. I don't read any articles. I don't pay attention to any closed auction prices. F no. I do all of those things plus probably 6 others. And so as far as the Wemby thing goes, I just feel like it's okay to have fun. But you're right, Lou. I'm not going to take the proceeds of this net proceeds and really redeploy it into another Wemby card. I would deploy it into something a little bit more safe, but I would still have fun money. I'd have fun money earmarked to re-engage in breaks. I'd have some fun money for a trip, and then I'd like to walk away with a nice solid vintage card or two.
That's such an important point, and I want to emphasize it because if you use the term invest, if you use the verb invest when it comes to baseball cards, at a certain point, you got to take some out for other purposes, whether it be fun money, whether it be to pay bills, whatever it is, retirement money, whatever it is. You can't always turn it around into other cards. It's okay to take some out of your market and you use it for other purposes, especially if you are quote unquote investing. If you're collecting cards, that's probably a different discussion. But if you're investing, it's okay to use that money for other things, right? In the betting side, I see these with guys all the time. They come in and they bet money and they win bets and they just keep rolling it over into other bets, rolling it over into other bets. And in the betting market, that's not a good way to go because you're going to lose eventually. But it's okay if you're a quote unquote investor in cards. If you want to take some money out to do a trip or something like that, it's perfectly fine, isn't it?
Absolutely, Lou. I couldn't have said it better myself. It's a great point.
Yep. And I think people get locked into, no, I got to turn this into a Gretzky card, or I got to turn it. If you're doing it because you love it, that's great. But you also got to realize you can take stuff out and, even as small as have a good dinner. Go take your wife to a dinner.
I'll share with you something that I've done this year, which has been very successful for me. I used to, and I still have a lot of cards, but I used to look at a card kind of the way you were talking about, like, hey, it's an investment. Is there dividends? And obviously there's no dividends from cards. You can make a profit. But what I've been better at recognizing is, oh, you know what? Even though I would like to make, let's just say, a little bit more on said card, if the profit's fair, and by the way, you got to make sure, can't ignore selling fees. But if you're truly going to make a real profit on the card, then I believe you have to consider selling it, especially when you do what I do. And, as far as your betting analogy, I guess it's the same thing. Like if I just bought all these cards and I pretended it was just a big collection for me, that would be a big problem.
Well, your Clemente card isn't going to just bottom out, so it's not like you're going to lose like you would on a bet. But
but if I keep buying for my collection and I never sell anything, then it could be an issue.
But on a Wemby card, it wouldn't bottom out, but you'd end up losing money.
Yep, absolutely. So I wanted to show off. I don't know if we did this recently, but if I showed it off recently. But I bought this ball from a gentleman in the New York City, and I bought his collection from him. The full story in the blog, and the video will be coming soon to our blog at blog.justcollect.com. This is a ball, Lou. It's mainly Hall of Famers. He had it signed himself. But how cool is this? Do I switch the camera? Or you do it.
No, I'll switch it. Just use the camera on the desk. There we go.
So, Lou, this is a multi-signed Hall of Fame, mainly Hall of Famers baseball from a gentleman who got this growing up with his father, going to various baseball games and baseball events.
So these are all he collected personally.
personally.
Yeah.
Urban Red Faber, Rogers Hornsby, George Sisler. Now, Del Webb is not a Hall of Famer. Casey Stengel,
Oh, God.
Dazzy Vance.
Yep.
I don't. Jim Turner, who's a former Yankee. I think that's Bill Dickey below DiMaggio, but I don't know if that's. I think that's Dom DiMaggio.
Probably.
Bill Dickey.
Yep.
On the side panel here is Mel Allen, Jimmy Pearsall, Eno Slaughter, Gene Woodling. We got that panel.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm not sure about the top one. Whitey Ford, Pie Trainer, and I don't know the last one, but this is a really cool baseball.
Is that ball sealed at all, or anything protecting those signatures?
When I put it back in the case.
Oh, in the case. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about throwing around lacrosse in the parking lot afterwards because, baseball season's starting for him. But, I don't have that kind of money where I can afford to do that.
Nope.
So, this is one of those, Lou, where I took a chance, meaning I recognized some of the signatures. They look good to me. It doesn't come with any authentication. He wanted to sell. And I'll let everyone know about our journey and what happens after we get it authenticated.
Yep. Excellent. That's the fun stuff. So memorabilia, you like memorabilia too, right?
Oh, I love memorabilia. And, to be fair, I love the story behind the baseball. Like, if he had bought that baseball with his dad at a show, I'm not saying I wouldn't have wanted it.
Right.
But, I mean, I could tell the guy was being sincere. Yeah, that was his pride and joy. And I even said to him, because I didn't think we'd work out a deal. I gave him an estimate, and, the estimate was like a range.
Yep.
And then, he understood it's not what I would pay. And he said, what would you pay? And I said, I really prefer to get it authenticated. And he was like, well, I don't really want to do that. Well, I don't really know what you want me to do. He said, well, what would you offer? So we worked it out. And I'll let everyone know what happens after we get it authenticated.
Yeah, and like so much of the stuff that you have, the big collections, it's a nice backstory. It adds to you're right. It adds to the value of the item, for me anyway.
Most certainly. And, speaking of the stories, more people than ever are really... What's up, Mike? Thank you. More people than ever, Lou, are contacting us from our Just Collect YouTube channel.
Nice.
So in other words, they're seeing the video and then they're writing us an email through the website. Hey, I saw such and such video. Or I saw your podcast on your YouTube channel. What's up, Charles?
Well, again, I think people who collect baseball cards have a certain amount of passion in it. They might be investors, they might just be collectors, but they have a certain amount of passion in it. And your Vintage Breaks, the whole community is so much less transactional. I mean, it's a business and it's transactional, but there's so much more to it. And there's fun and enjoyment in being here. Look at all the guys who show up and girls who show up for us all the time whenever we do this show.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. And, special shout out to Charles, who sold me his big hit out of the 55 All-American pack, the Four Horsemen, which created a PSA 8. So still, of course, have that card, but really do enjoy it. And you're right, Lou, and we're going to talk about a couple of different things this week on Trading Card Therapy. So one of them is going to be, if you have a budget of X amount to buy a card, what's the best way to do it? And to be fair, I actually wouldn't have covered this at all. My friend Patrick's a really smart guy and a very successful mural artist. Call him the Mural Artist of the Stars. Check him out on Instagram, Patrick Nino.
Okay.
I think he has a website as well. Anyway, much in the way when I was talking to one of my business partners yesterday, he's like, Leighton, sometimes when I talk to people, I think it's common sense. Meaning like an employee, but yet they don't know. Just goes to show you, the experience really does matter.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why you try to pass it on as much as you can.
So speaking of experience, I'm going to share that on Trading Card Therapy this week, but also so you can get your thinking caps on. I want to know, for example, if you tune in to Trading Card Therapy on Friday, I'm going to ask this during the show, why are you tuning in?
Yep.
And I'm also going to ask you on Friday in the episode, why do you listen to other hobby content? And if you do listen to other hobby content, please let me know what it is. Because I'm always looking for good hobby content. And something I've noticed, and I don't like this trend, I get it. So for those of you that aren't aware, you can make money producing, and I even sound silly doing this, saying this, you can make money producing videos on YouTube and get paid by YouTube for the traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think Vintage Breaks gets like a few shekels. It's enough to buy like a ham and cheese that's spoiled every month. But joking aside, just collect Trading Card Therapy. We don't have any sponsors. And there's a Just Collect YouTube channel as well, James. So my point is that when I listen to other podcasts or hobby content, a lot of them do have sponsors.
Yep.
And, if you don't like it, you can fast forward, of course. But I'm going to go first and say, the reason why I listen to other content is because I want to stay up on what's going on in the industry. I want to stay up what's going on in the hobby that I love.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see if there's any ideas or interesting things to discuss on a future episode of Trading Card Therapy, of Leighton's Loft, or just with the guys in the office, with the team. And what I've noticed, it's of course not specific to our category, but if you Google, for example, Lou, gang, how do I create a successful title on YouTube? How do I get more people to watch my video?
Yeah.
Largely what the advice will be is to be negative.
Yeah.
And so I've been seeing these like clickbait type titles of videos, and I don't want to name anyone, but they're clearly doing it to get you to try to tune in.
Right.
Listen, my 2 cents, you're entitled to do whatever you'd like. If you're making money off of it, I get it. But I know for me, I'm trying to keep it a little bit more pure as far as what I'm trying to deliver. And so unless someone throws enough money and you will know because you'll see the sponsor, but unless it's enough money that's going to make a difference, we're going to keep our show sponsor free. And the reason we're going to do that is because we just believe in delivering as authentic as a message as we can. And everyone can say whatever they'd like about, well, just because they sponsor me, I still say whatever I want. Really? So you're doing these clickbait type of titles on YouTube because you think it's funny?
Yep.
No, you're doing it because you want people to click because it's better for you. I get it. But I don't necessarily think that's what's best for the hobby.
It's exactly what I just laid out. It's the difference between being purely transactional and having some love and some passion for the hobby too. And it's being more genuine about it. And listen, I'm a capitalist as much as anybody else. You can be transactional if you want to. And this is a better community because, again, all these guys show up and girls show up every week when we do it and every show when we do it. And I know you've got a great community there because they like the vibe of this place on top of the business end of it. There's a vibe as well as the business. It's not purely transactional. I think people are attracted to that. James Ector with his record business, same thing. He's into it, right? It's not just
very much so.
He's into it. And everyone is attracted to that type of passion and that type of interest.
I think you're making a great point, Lou, and I wanted to give a shout out to apparently 2 other podcasts that Chris Brown was plugging. He said Go GTS Live, which I'm familiar with. I think it was on there a few years ago. And the Card Life I'm not as familiar with. Is the Card Life on YouTube, Chris? And if it's not, just let us know in the chat. We'd love to hear.
Brian says the Card Life is pretty good.
Yeah, just let me know where to grab that, guys. I'd love to check it out.
Guess what? Just by the title, I can tell you I can guess that's purely not purely transactional either.
Yeah, no, it sounds fun. Well, I appreciate everyone tuning in today, of course. And if you want to watch our next episode of Trading Card Therapy, we'll be uploading it this Friday at 3:00 Eastern Time. Thanks, everybody.